My name is Daniel. I did not always believe in strong words like hope or future.
There was a time when I felt broken, like a cup with many cracks, even when people smiled at me. I felt empty inside. This is my story. It starts on a quiet morning that changed my life. That morning, the rain fell softly, the sky was grey, and the air felt heavy. I sat on the edge of my bed, holding my phone. One message kept flashing in my mind. We are sorry to inform you. I had read those words many times before. They came from the company I worked for. After 5 years of hard work, I had lost my job. I put the phone down and stared at the wall. My room was small, the paint was peeling.
A cracked mirror hung beside the door. When I looked into it, I did not recognize the man staring back. His eyes were tired.
His shoulders were low. He looked like someone who had given up. Money was already a problem. I had bills to pay. I had a small loan. I had no savings.
My parents lived far away, and I did not want to worry them. I told myself, be strong. But my heart felt weak. I went outside to clear my head. The street was wet and quiet.
People passed by with umbrellas, walking fast, going somewhere important. I felt like I had nowhere to go. I walked to a small park near my house and sat on a cold bench.
As I sat there, memories came back. I remembered my younger days. I was full of dreams.
I wanted to build something meaningful. I wanted to help people, but life slowly pushed me down.
Failures came one after another. I started to believe that I was not good enough. A man sat next to me on the bench. He was old, with grey hair and kind eyes. He looked at me and said softly, "Hard day."
I nodded. Words were hard to find.
He smiled gently. "Some days break us," he said. "They also show us who we really are."
I wanted to believe him, but it sounded too simple. Pain did not feel simple. Fear did not feel small. When the man stood up to leave, he added one more thing. Being broken is not the end. It is often the beginning.
Those words stayed with me.
That night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep. My mind was full of worries, but also a small spark of something new. I did not know what tomorrow would bring. I did not have a plan, but deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, "You are still here." And maybe, just maybe, this was not the end of my story. The next morning, I woke up early. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still cloudy. I lay in bed for a long time, staring at the ceiling. My problems were still there. I still had no job. I still felt scared, but something inside me felt a little different.
I remembered the old man's words from the park. Being broken is not the end.
I did not fully understand them, but I wanted to try. I told myself one simple thing. Today, I will not give up.
I got out of bed and made a cup of tea. It was nothing special, but the warm cup in my hands made me feel calmer. I cleaned my small room. I opened the window and let fresh air in. Small actions, but they helped my mind feel clearer.
After breakfast, I sat down with a notebook. I wrote down my fears. I am afraid of failing again. I am afraid I am not good enough. I am afraid of being alone. When I finished, I looked at the list for a long time. Then I turned the page and wrote one question. What can I do today? Not tomorrow, not next month, just today. The answer was simple. I could update my resume. I could search for jobs.
I could learn something new. These things would not fix everything, but they were a start. I opened my old laptop. It was slow, but it worked. I rewrote my resume carefully. I remembered my skills, my experiences, and the things I had done well. For the first time in a long while, I saw value in myself. Later that day, I went to a small CAF near my house. I could not afford much, just one cup of coffee, but being around people helped. I watched others typing, talking, laughing. Life was moving, and I was still part of it. A young woman sat across from me. She smiled and asked, "Are you working or studying?" I hesitated, then answered honestly, "I am looking for a job." She nodded. "That's brave. Not everyone admits that." Her words surprised me. Brave? I had never thought of myself that way. But maybe trying again was a kind of courage.
That evening, I walked home slowly. The streetlights turned on one by one.
I felt tired, but also proud. I had taken small steps. I had not hidden from the world. Before sleeping, I wrote one last sentence in my notebook. I may be broken, but I am learning to stand again. For the first time in many days, I slept peacefully.
Days passed, then weeks. Life did not suddenly become easy. Some days were good, some days were very hard.
I sent many job applications, but most had no reply. Each rejection felt like a small cut to my heart. There were mornings when I did not want to get out of bed. The old fear returned. What if I never succeed? What if I am wasting my time? On those days, I felt broken again, but I remembered my promise. I told myself, stand up one more time.
To stay busy, I started learning new skills online. Free lessons, simple videos, basic courses. Every day, I learned something small. Sometimes it was boring, sometimes it was confusing, but slowly my confidence grew.
One afternoon, my mother called. I had avoided calling her because I did not want her to worry, but I answered.
How are you, Daniel? She asked gently.
I paused, then spoke the truth. I lost my job. I am trying again.
There was silence. My heart beat fast.
Then she said, I am proud of you. Her words broke me in a different way. Tears filled my eyes. I had been so hard on myself. I forgot that trying was already an achievement.
That night, I went back to the park where I had met the old man. The bench was empty. The air was cool. I sat there and thought about my life. I realized something important. Pain had taught me patience.
Failure had taught me humility. Struggle was shaping me into someone stronger.
A few days later, I got a message. It was not a job offer. It was an invitation for an interview. My hands shook as I read it. Fear and hope mixed together. The interview day came. I wore my best shirt, even though it was old.
I looked in the mirror and stood straight. I was nervous, but I reminded myself I survived worse.
The interview was not perfect. I made mistakes. I forgot some words, but I spoke honestly.
I shared my experiences and what I had learned during my hard times. When it ended, I walked out feeling unsure, but also proud. I had faced my fear instead of running away.
That evening, I wrote in my notebook again.
This struggle is changing me. I am not the same person I was before.
I did not know the result of the interview yet, but I knew something important, even if I failed again. I was stronger than before. I was no longer just broken. I was becoming unstoppable. A few days after the interview, I received a call. My heart raced.
The voice on the phone said, Daniel, we would like to offer you the position. I could hardly believe it. I thanked them over and over. I hung up and sat on my bed, trembling. For the first time in many months, I felt a real smile on my face. Something inside me had shifted. I felt proud of myself. I felt alive. Starting the new job was not easy. The office was busy. People moved quickly. I had to learn a lot in a short time.
At first, I worried that I would fail again. Old fears whispered, you are not ready. You will make mistakes.
But I remembered my past months of struggle. I had learned patience, perseverance, and courage. I reminded myself, I can do this.
Each day, I tried to do one thing better than the day before. Some days it was small, answering an email faster, understanding a task more clearly, or helping a colleague. Other days, it was bigger, presenting an idea in a meeting, solving a difficult problem.
With every small win, my confidence grew. I started smiling more, talking more, and believing more. I noticed people started to trust me. They listened when I spoke. They asked for my opinion.
I was learning that success does not come only from big victories. It comes from small, consistent actions.
Outside of work, I also started taking care of myself. I exercised a little, ate healthier, and spent time walking in the park.
I even joined a small community group where people shared their stories and encouraged each other.
I learned that connection with others made life brighter. One evening, I looked in the mirror. I saw the same man who had felt broken months ago, but now his eyes held hope.
His shoulders were straight. His heart was stronger. He was not perfect, and life was still challenging.
But he had learned something valuable. Even when broken, a person can rise again.
Even when life pushes hard, we can keep moving forward.
I wrote in my notebook, I am not the same as before. I am learning. I am growing. I am unstoppable.
That night, I sat by the window, watching the stars. I realized that pain, loss, and struggle had shaped me into someone I was proud to be.
The cracks in my life had not broken me completely. They had allowed light to shine through. I smiled and whispered to myself, I may have been broken, but I am rising. I am unstoppable. Months passed, and my life continued to change.
I had a job I liked, colleagues who supported me, and a small routine that gave me strength. But the most important change was inside me. I no longer felt like a broken man. I felt alive. I felt unstoppable. One morning, I woke up early as usual. I looked in the mirror and smiled. The man I saw was not perfect. He had scars and memories of pain, but he had courage. He had hope. He had learned to stand again, even when life seemed impossible.
At work, I faced new challenges. Sometimes I made mistakes. Sometimes I felt fear. But now I understood something important. Mistakes do not define us. How we respond to them does.
I started helping my colleagues, sharing my experiences, and encouraging others who felt lost or broken.
Outside work, I reached out to friends I had neglected. I talked to people I had once been afraid to meet. I realized that being unstoppable did not mean being alone. It meant sharing strength, hope, and kindness with others. One evening, I went back to the small park where it all began. I sat on the same bench, now dry under the clear sky. I remembered the old man who had spoken to me that first day. His words came back. Being broken is not the end. It is often the beginning. I smiled. I understood them fully now. Every broken moment, every fear, every failure had been part of my journey. They had taught me resilience, courage, and hope. They had shown me that life could be hard, but it could also be beautiful. I took out my notebook and wrote one last line for this chapter of my life. I was broken. I fought. I learned. I am unstoppable.
From that day, I promised myself to live fully, to keep learning, and to help others rise when they feel broken.
I had discovered a truth I would carry forever. Being unstoppable does not mean life is easy. It means never giving up, no matter how hard life becomes. I looked at the stars that night and whispered, I may have been broken, but I will never be defeated. I am unstoppable.
And that was the beginning of a new life, one filled with hope, courage, and endless possibilities.